As Mazda fans get amped up for the new CX-90 reveal at the end of January, Mazda's electrification plans have become a little bit more clear. Up to 40% of its lineup could be battery electric by 2030, and now we have a glimpse of what Mazda's been working on. Over at the Drive, they've dug up some patents on an EV sedan. If you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I talk about Mazda quite often here. Make sure to subscribe, and also make sure you're subscribed for my hands-on breakdown of the CX-90 reveal. I will be heading out west for that reveal in just a few weeks from now. Mazda EV compact sedan detailed a new patent application, which very well could be kind of the future version of the Mazda 3. Now, we know Mazda is working hard on EVs. Last month, they came up with this new EV target. Previously, it was 25% by 2030. Now they're saying up to 40% by 2030 of their EV sales ratio. We're in phase one of this EV rollout, and the first phase is kind of getting their large platform vehicles to market and maybe put the rotary range extender and their only EV, which is the MX-30. So battery electric EV models will begin hitting the market with an all-new platform in the later half of phase 2. Now, phase 2 is between 2025 and 2027. Mazda has also gone on the record that they're considering building these EVs here in North America. So it could be at their Mexico plant or their Alabama plant where they build the CX-50, which I'm getting another CX-50 in this week, I believe, for review. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then they'll be able to ramp up these EVs in the third phase at the end of this decade. So 2028 to 2030, we'll see it in mass. So let's go back to the Drive here, Mazda and its patents for an EV. And the biggest thing, well, there's a few things here that you can take away. All of these patents show front wheel drive, but the patent notes, from my understanding, say that it can be front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or all wheel drive. So of course, Mazda is going to leave that sort of flexibility still up. Now, the biggest question for me is the battery pack is so darn skinny. Is Mazda planning all their future EVs around solid state batteries in the later half of the 2020s? That's a possibility. You got to keep in mind, Mazda wants to keep the spirit of driving alive in all of their vehicles, and that'll include battery electric vehicles. So they don't want to make these things too heavy. The patent claims the battery is large enough to provide reasonable driving range. So go figure, Mazda with one of the lowest range EVs on the market with the MX-30 around 100 miles is saying a reasonable driving range. Leave that up for interpretation, but it's probably going to be somewhere around 250 to 300. They're not going to be swinging for the fences here. A large battery not only does it make your vehicles more expensive, but it's going to add weight to the vehicle. The patent claims it could be typical lithium ion or perhaps a solid state battery pack. Now, the Drive reminds us that patents are not a guarantee of this thing hitting production, but it would be completely foolish if Mazda hasn't been working on electrification of their lineup, especially like the 3, for example. The Mazda 3 is a staple in their lineup. The CX-50 kind of, well, here in the United States, it will be as they eventually work on production. They just can't get enough workers for the Alabama plant. We know the CX-5 is a big part of their lineup, the CX-30, and the MX-30 and the CX-30 are, I don't know, they seem very similar to me, just one's fully electric. And we know we're getting a plug-in hybrid of the CX-90, which is exciting, as well as inline 6, so you're going to have your options there. So after looking at these patents, I'm excited. It really doesn't, like, here, this is all placeholder here. This is kind of pretty much taking current Mazda 3 sort of dimensions and slapping it on top of here. Of course, we're not going to reveal any braking like designs, but this is a good idea. Like, we have looks like a double wishbone rear suspension here. So this thing should handle pretty well, considering also its skinny battery pack. So what kind of specs would you be expecting from a Mazda 3 electric vehicle? I think 250 to 300 miles of range is a given. 200 to 300 horsepower. It doesn't need to be a top-end performance car. If they can find a way to make this heavy vehicle still fun to drive, then Mazda could have something pretty special on their hands here. Now, 2023 Kia EV6 GT has a ton of power in a compromised package. This is what I was worrying about after driving the EV6 and the Ioniq 5. When you push them hard in a straight line, it's great. It's fine. They're designed for that. The long wheelbase, it's awesome. But their weight comes into play when you throw it around a turn. And I found that out driving the Ioniq 5 dual motor for the first time. I drove it right after driving the Elantra N. Feels like half the weight of the Ioniq 5, and I slung the Ioniq 5 into a turn going downhill, and I almost went off-road because the tires just couldn't keep up with the heavy weight. And that seems to be what's going on with the EV6 GT here. Over 570 horsepower. This thing is an absolute monster. 0 to 60 in around 3.5 seconds. But it has 5,730 pounds. And the person who drove this vehicle for Jalopnik said they never felt comfortable throwing this thing in the turns. And I wouldn't either at over 5,700 pounds. So EVs, man, they're ridiculously fast, but I feel like we're a ways away from having high performance EVs that can keep up in the turns with a lot of high performance gasoline cars. So yes, it doesn't really surprise me. This vehicle still would be perfect for Florida because everything's straight line down here. It's just like every street's a straight and flat drag strip. So yeah, anyways, EV6 GT, I still can't wait to drive it. I think this thing is really cool looking on the outside, just like the standard EV6, but we're going to keep moving. Toyota is building their 5th generation hybrid setups in Europe at the UK plant as well as the Polish plant. And they're all using the 1.8 liter, but they have the upgraded MG1, MG2, and the third motor in the back for all-wheel drive vehicles. And this is still a temptation for us in America. We don't get the Corolla Touring Sports or Sports Touring. We do have GR Corolla, Corolla Cross, Corolla Hatchback, Corolla Sedan, Corolla Hybrid, but we still don't get like the forbidden fruit, which a Toyota wagon. Whenever I see a Toyota wagon, still in pristine condition down here in South Florida, makes me so happy. But yeah, Toyota wagons are out of reach for us in North America still. So yes, anyways, they're working on that. Also, at Global Toyota, partially improved fuel cell Mirai. Really all they did was update the software here on the main screen to the new Toyota interface. So wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Google Points of Interest, etc. They've also updated the Teammate software in here to keep in mind of surrounding cars blind spot. So the car, if it can help it, won't hang out in other cars' blind spots, which is pretty cool, especially if you've ever driven a motorcycle. You don't like hanging out in people's blind spots. And they've also made the front door glass more insulated from sound, it seems like. Subaru to halt development of plug-in hybrid vehicles, and the Japanese automaker is accelerating shift to electric cars. So we have a lot of electrified news on today's docket, essentially, from Japan and Subaru. This is news. I haven't read this article yet, so let's jump into it. The move is aimed at reducing the cost of developing clean energy vehicles. Many automakers are struggling to offer vehicles powered in a variety of ways, including plug-in hybrids, and electric cars. Plug-in hybrids had a share of just 2% of the global auto market last year. So Subaru currently has the plug-in hybrid Crosstrek, but starting next year, the Crosstrek will be axed as a plug-in hybrid. Now, going forward, Subaru will focus on development of EVs, and they will invest only $1.8 billion for the development and production of EVs over the next 5 years. It's an exceedingly low number. If we looked at Mazda is almost at $11 billion until 2030. So I guess that's not even close. Not even close. In 2027, Subaru will build an EV factory in Gunma. No, I think it comes online in 2027, if I remember correctly. Maybe how Subaru can get away with only spending 1.8 is because Big Brother Toyota owns 20% of them, and they're going to be doing much of the heavy lifting when it comes to electrification. So I think maybe Subaru is able to bet on that. Hybrids are still in the plans. They're planning to release new hybrid models around 2025 using Toyota's technology. Honda's maybe the only Japanese car company we haven't really focused on, because we're going to talk about Nissan to use green metals from Kobe steel in domestic cars, and this will help lower its carbon dioxide emissions in the supply chain. And this green steel will be in domestically built Serena minivans, which they just came out with a new Serena. Fortunately, we don't get any Nissan minivan here anymore after the discontinuation of the Quest. But the new Serenas will be starting in 2023 with this new green steel. But that just about does it for today's news. Are you excited for a Mazda 3 EV? Would you be more interested in it over, let's say, a Tesla Model 3, right? Given they're roughly the same size. So I'll see you down below on all the Gosh, I guess it was all electrified news today. And definitely stay tuned for Kirky Cars, my second channel where I talk about electrified options. Not just the Japanese, but more spreading outside to the domestics and the Germans. I'll be talking a little bit about Ford today on the other channel. Thank you guys for all your support. Catch you in the next one. Happy holidays. Peace out.